I'm 70. I avoid people now. Here's why. Hello, friends. Do you ever wake up one day and suddenly realize how much has changed, not just in the world, but in you? At 70 years old, I find myself in a place I never imagined, a place of quiet, a place of solitude. And let me tell you, it's not what you might think. 70. It's a big number, isn't it? A milestone. One moment, you're full of energy, plans, and dreams. And the next, you're standing here, looking back at decades of life, asking yourself, what really mattered? And more importantly, what still matters? For me, the answer has been surprising. I used to be so social, the life of the party, always saying yes to invitations, always surrounded by people. But something changed. Over time, I realized that all that noise, all those commitments, they weren't filling me anymore. They were draining me. And so I began to pull back, slowly, carefully. At first, it felt weird, even wrong. But now I see it for what it is, a gift. The gift of choosing how I spend my time, choosing who I let into my world, choosing peace over pressure. So, if you've ever felt this pull, this desire to step back, to find quiet, to protect your energy, you're not alone. In fact, you might just be on the brink of discovering the most authentic and beautiful chapter of your life. Let's explore it together. Time. The quiet teacher that changes everything. Have you ever paused and really thought about time, not as the hours on a clock or the days on a calendar, but as something far more personal? At 70, time feels different to me. It's no longer endless, no longer something I can afford to waste. Time has become precious. Every moment is a gift, and I finally understand just how fragile and fleeting it really is. When I was younger, time felt infinite. It stretched out before me like an endless road. I didn't even think about it because why would I? There was always tomorrow, always more time. I spent hours on things that didn't matter. Mindless distractions, shallow conversations, relationships that drained me instead of filling me up. Back then, it didn't feel like I was wasting anything. I thought, I'll get to the important stuff later. There's plenty of time. But now I see things so differently. Time isn't infinite. It's finite. It's not just passing, it's running out. That's not a thought that makes me sad or scared. It's a thought that makes me awake. It's as if time itself has become a teacher, constantly reminding me to be intentional with the moments I have left. I've started noticing the beauty in the smallest, quietest moments, like those early mornings with a warm cup of coffee in my hands, watching the sunrise and feeling the calm of a new day, or those long, peaceful walks where the sound of crunching leaves under my feet makes me feel grounded and alive. And in the evenings, sitting in my favorite chair, reflecting on the memories of a life I've been so fortunate to live. These moments, these simple everyday moments, are what I treasure most now. They're not flashy, they're not grand, but they're real. And they remind me that time isn't just something to measure, it's something to experience. For much of my life, I thought the more I packed into my days, the more I would feel accomplished. If I could just do more, then my life would feel fuller. So I filled my time with people, tasks, and commitments, thinking that busyness was the key to a meaningful life. But here's what I've learned. It's not about how much you do. It's about the quality of what you do. It's not about how many people you surround yourself with. It's about the depth of those relationships. Now, I'm far more intentional about how I spend my time. I choose carefully where I invest my energy and with whom. I'd rather have one meaningful conversation with someone who truly understands me than spend hours in a crowded room where I feel like a stranger. I'd rather sit in solitude with my thoughts than engage in drama or shallow interactions. And let me tell you, It's liberating. When you start to see time as the irreplaceable gift that it is, you become fiercely protective of it. You learn to say no to the things that don't serve you. You stop feeling guilty about choosing peace over obligation. When I was younger, I always thought there was more time to fix mistakes, more time to rekindle a friendship, more time to chase a dream. But now I see the truth. There are fewer tomorrows than I'd like to admit. And that's not something that makes me sad. It's something that makes me intentional. Now, I spend my time on what truly matters: my health, my passions, and the people who bring light into my life. I don't waste hours on meaningless drama or tasks that bring me no joy. I don't fill my calendar just to feel busy. I focus on the things that bring me peace, purpose, and happiness. Time has also taught me the importance of letting go. Letting go of regrets over the moments I didn't use wisely. Letting go of grudges that once felt so important. Letting go of the need to do everything and please everyone. Because when you hold on to those things, they don't just take up space in your mind, they steal your time. And here's what I've discovered. The best moments in life aren't the grand achievements or the big milestones. They're the small, quiet joys, like hearing your favorite song and feeling a wave of nostalgia, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, laughing so hard your stomach hurts. These are the moments that make life beautiful. So yes, time feels more precious now than ever before. But it also feels richer because I've stopped chasing it. I've stopped trying to pack my days with as much as possible. Instead, I've started savoring it. And in doing so, I've found a kind of peace I never knew was possible. Here's what I want you to ask yourself. How are you spending your time? Are you rushing through your days, filling them with obligations that leave you drained? Or are you slowing down, savoring the moments, and focusing on what truly matters? Because here's the truth. Time is a gift. And once it's gone, you can never get it back. But when you start to see it for what it really is, you'll never want to waste a single second again. Next, let's talk about something deeply connected to time: relationships, how they change, how they grow, and how they sometimes fade. Because just like time, the people we share it with shape the meaning of our lives. Stay with me. Relationships, when less becomes so much more. Have you ever stopped to think about the people who were once central to your life, only to realize they're not there anymore? Maybe it was a friend who felt like family, or a family member who drifted into their own world. And now, when you think about those connections, there's this quiet realization. It's not the same anymore. Relationships change. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my 70 years. And honestly, it's not an easy one. When I was younger, I believed that the more people I surrounded myself with, the fuller my life would be. Friends, colleagues, neighbors. I tried to keep everyone close. I was the person who remembered every birthday, showed up for every milestone, and bent over backward to make sure no one ever felt forgotten. But here's what I didn't understand then. Relationships take energy, and sometimes that energy isn't reciprocated. People grow, people change. Life pulls us all in different directions. A career move, a new relationship, personal struggles, these things shift the dynamics in ways we often don't expect. And at first, I took it all so personally. Why did they drift away? What did I do wrong? But now, after years of reflection, I see it differently. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is learning to tell the difference. It hasn't always been easy. I can't lie, there are relationships I miss deeply. A friend who was like a sister to me, we used to share everything, but now we haven't spoken in years. A family member whose choices and values no longer align with mine, it's like we're strangers. At one point, these losses felt like failures, as though I didn't try hard enough to hold on. But here's the truth. Not every relationship is meant to last forever, and that's okay. The people who remain, the ones who truly see you, understand you, and show up for you, those are the connections worth treasuring. And let's not forget, we change too. I am not the same person I was at 40 or even 60. My priorities have shifted. I don't have the patience for drama or relationships that feel one-sided. I need connections that are kind, authentic, and reciprocal. For the longest time, I thought being there for everyone was what made me a good friend, a good family member. I believed it was my responsibility to hold things together. But I've learned that true relationships don't drain you. They fill you. It's a hard lesson to learn, especially when you've given so much of yourself to others. I've faced heartache. I've had trust broken by people I thought would always be there. I've experienced the sting of loyalty that wasn't returned and kindness that was taken for granted. But those experiences taught me something invaluable. They taught me how to set boundaries, how to recognize red flags, and most importantly, how to protect my own well-being. Now, I only give my energy to relationships that lift me up. The people who bring light into my life, not those who weigh me down. It's not about closing myself off. It's about being intentional, about saying yes to what feels good and no to what doesn't. But even with these lessons, I'll admit there are moments of nostalgia. A memory will come rushing back, a laugh shared with an old friend, a time when everything felt simpler. It's bittersweet. I miss those moments, but I don't wish to go back. I've come to cherish them for what they were. Beautiful chapters that helped shape the person I am today. And here's the thing. As we grow older, we start to see relationships for what they truly are. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. I'd rather have one meaningful conversation with someone who truly understands me than attend a crowded event where I feel like a stranger. So, if you've ever found yourself pulling back from certain relationships or feeling the weight of shifting connections, I want you to know that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've grown. As I've grown older, I've learned to embrace the quieter connections, the ones that don't require constant effort to sustain, the people who show up, not because they need something, but because they want to be there. And let me tell you, that kind of connection, it's gold. And here's another truth. It's okay to let go. It's okay to release relationships that no longer serve you, to say goodbye to the ones that drain you, because when you do, you create space for something better. So if you're in a stage of life where relationships are shifting, I invite you to reflect. Who lifts you up? Who brings joy and light into your world? And who do you want to spend your time with? Because at the end of the day, our time is limited, and the people we choose to share it with, they should make it feel richer, fuller, and more meaningful. Next, let's dive into something even more complex. Trust. How it changes as we age, how we can rebuild it, and how it shapes the relationships we choose to keep. Stay with me. Trust. Rebuilding fences without closing the gates. Have you ever thought about how trust changes as you grow older? Not just in others, but in yourself. For me, trust has become a far more complicated thing at 70. I used to trust easily, maybe even naively, believing in the goodness of people without question. But life has a way of teaching you lessons about trust, lessons that can leave you cautious, even guarded. In my younger years, trust came naturally. I believed in people's intentions, in their promises. But over the years, I faced betrayals I never saw coming. A friend who took advantage of my generosity. A business partner who put their own gain above everything we built together. Even family members who distanced themselves without explanation. Each experience left its mark. And with each one, I became more careful, less willing to give my trust freely. It's not that I'm bitter. I'm not angry, but I've learned to protect myself. At this stage of life, trust isn't something I give easily anymore. It's something people earn. When someone new enters my life, my first instinct isn't excitement or curiosity, it's caution. What do they want? Are their intentions genuine? It's a mindset I never wanted to have, but it's one born from experience. But here's the thing about trust. It's not just about others. It's about you. Trusting yourself. Trusting your instincts. Trusting that you have the strength to walk away from toxic people, no matter how long they've been in your life. There was a time when I ignored the red flags in relationships. I stayed in situations that chipped away at my happiness because I thought that's what loyalty meant. I believed that if I just gave more, loved more, or tried harder, things would change. But I've learned that true loyalty doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being. One of the hardest lessons I've learned is how to trust myself, to listen to that quiet voice inside that says, this isn't right, to walk away when a relationship or situation no longer serves me, to believe in my own ability to protect my peace, even if it means keeping my distance. But trust is a complicated thing, isn't it? Just when you think you've lost faith in humanity, something happens that restores it. A kind stranger helps you when you least expect it. A neighbor shows up during a storm just to check on you. Moments like these remind me that while trust may be harder to give now, it's not impossible. And when trust is earned, it feels more precious than ever. The people I trust completely, the ones I know I can count on without question, are few, but they are everything. I value those relationships more deeply now than I ever did before. At the same time, I've learned to keep my boundaries firm. There are people who haven't earned my trust, and that's okay. I no longer feel guilty about protecting myself. I no longer feel the need to explain why I say no or why I choose distance over closeness. And here's an important truth. Trusting yourself doesn't mean building walls so high that no one can climb them. It means creating gates strong enough to keep out harm, but open enough to let love and kindness in when it feels right. I want you to take a moment to think about trust in your own life. Who do you trust completely? Who has shown you that they deserve your trust? And just as importantly, are there people you've trusted who haven't earned it? Letting go of relationships that break your trust isn't easy, but it's necessary. It's a way of reclaiming your own peace, your own sense of safety. And it's a way of making room for the people who truly deserve a place in your life. But there's another side to trust. Trust in yourself. Do you trust your instincts? Do you trust your ability to make decisions that honor your happiness? Do you trust that it's okay to walk away from what doesn't serve you? Because that's where trust begins. With you. At 70, I've learned that the most important relationship I'll ever have is the one I have with myself. And trusting myself, believing that I deserve peace, joy, and respect has changed everything. So if you're feeling cautious about trust, remember this. It's not about closing yourself off. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing relationships that bring light into your life and letting go of the ones that bring darkness. Next, let's talk about something deeply connected to trust, the world we live in, and how it feels so different now than it once did. Because as much as this trust changes, so does the way we experience the world around us. Stay with me. The world today, lost in the noise, found in the silence. Do you ever look at the world today and think, what happened? It's not just about technology or how fast things move. It's the very way we connect with each other. At 70, the world feels like a completely different place from the one I grew up in. And while change is inevitable, sometimes I can't help but feel like we've lost something along the way. When I was younger, life felt slower, more personal. Neighbors were like family. We knew each other by name, stopped by unannounced, and shared simple moments over a cup of coffee. Families gathered regularly, not out of obligation, but because we wanted to. It wasn't about what we had or what we achieved. It was about being together. But now it feels like everyone is rushing to work, rushing to keep up, rushing to succeed. And in all that rushing, it feels like we've forgotten how to slow down and truly connect. Conversations feel shorter, more transactional. Even within families, it sometimes feels like there's a distance, both physical and emotional. And then there's technology. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for it. Being able to video call my grandchildren or stay in touch with old friends through social media is a blessing. But at the same time, these screens have created barriers between us. There's something irreplaceable about sitting across from someone, hearing the nuances in their voice, seeing the expressions on their face, feeling the warmth of their presence. With every notification, every news update, every endless scroll, it feels like the world has become noisier, yet somehow lonelier. Have you felt that too? It's as if we're more connected than ever, but less present with one another. Sometimes I find myself longing for the simplicity of the past. Not because I resist change, I know change is necessary, but because I miss the depth of genuine human connection. Back then, time spent together wasn't rushed, it wasn't distracted, it was cherished. But nostalgia can be tricky, can it? It has a way of painting the past in softer colors than it deserves. Life wasn't perfect back then, and every era has its challenges. I know that. But even with all its imperfections, there was a sense of community that's harder to find now. And the world's values, they've shifted too. Success, recognition, self-promotion, these seem to take center stage. It's not that kindness and honesty have disappeared, but they feel harder to find amidst the noise of competition and constant comparison. There are days when I just want to step away from it all, turn off the phone, disconnect, retreat into the quiet of my thoughts, and remind myself of what still feels real. But here's the thing. While the world may feel different, it's not all bad. I've met strangers who've shown me unexpected kindness, neighbors who check in during storms, people who, even in this fast-paced world, remind me that compassion is still alive. And maybe that's the lesson here. Maybe the world has changed, but that doesn't mean we have to lose ourselves in it. We can still choose what matters. We can choose to step away from the noise, to focus on what's real, to hold on to the values that ground us, even when the world around us feels unrecognizable. So now I ask you, how does the world feel to you? Do you feel the same rush, the same distractions, the same longing for something simpler? And if you do, what can you do to reclaim that simplicity in your life? For me, it's been about setting boundaries, learning to turn off the noise when it becomes too much, choosing to spend time with people who matter, and remembering that even in a fast-changing world, there's beauty in slowing down. Next, I want to talk about something deeply connected to this idea of stepping back: solitude. Because as the world grows louder, finding peace in your own company might just be the greatest gift of all. Stay with me. With solitude, where strength and serenity meet. Have you ever been afraid of being alone? I know I was. For much of my life, I equated being alone with being lonely and loneliness. That felt unbearable. But at 70, I've come to realize something profound. Solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is an emptiness, a longing for connection that feels out of reach. Solitude, on the other hand, is a fullness. It's a choice to step away from the noise, to be with yourself, and to find peace in the quiet. And let me tell you, there's a power in that kind of choice.
When I was younger, the idea of spending time alone seemed almost scary. It felt like I needed to keep moving, keep connecting, keep doing. The thought of an empty evening at home, I avoided it at all costs. But now I've learned that solitude isn't something to fear. It's something to cherish. Solitude gives you space. Space to think, to reflect, to just be. It's in these quiet moments that I've found some of the deepest peace in my life. Sitting by the window with a warm cup of tea, watching the birds outside, taking a slow walk through the park, feeling the sun on my face and the wind in my hair, listening to the crackle of a fire on a quiet evening. These moments aren't just restful, they're rejuvenating. They remind me that I don't need constant activity or validation from others to feel whole. I am enough just as I am. And here's the surprising part. Solitude has made my connections with others even stronger. When I do choose to spend time with people, I'm fully present. There's no rush, no distraction. The conversations are richer. The laughter is deeper. The time feels more meaningful because it's a choice, not an obligation. Solitude has also taught me to listen to myself, to my needs, to my inner voice. And in that listening, I've discovered clarity. Clarity about who I am, what I value, and what truly makes me happy. Of course, there are moments when solitude feels heavy. Moments when I miss the people and the places that once filled my life. But even in those moments, I've found strength. Because solitude isn't about isolating yourself. It's about finding balance. It's about stepping away when you need to recharge so you can return to the world with more energy, more love, more intention. And here's the truth. Solitude isn't for the faint of heart. It takes courage to be alone with your thoughts. It takes strength to face yourself without distraction. But it's in that courage, in that strength, that you discover who you really are. So now I ask you, what does solitude mean to you? Is it something you fear or something you embrace? And if you haven't yet found peace in your own company, what's holding you back? Solitude isn't a sign of loneliness. It's a sign of self-respect. It's a declaration that your time, your energy, and your peace are worth protecting. And once you discover the strength and serenity that solitude can bring, you'll never look at it the same way again. Now let's take everything we've talked about: time, relationships, trust, the changing world, and solitude, and bring it all together. Let's explore how we can embrace this chapter of life with gratitude, peace, and authenticity. Stay with me. Embracing life. The art of living fully, deeply, and freely. As I sit here reflecting on everything we've talked about, time, relationships, trust, and the changing world, I can't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons, the challenges, and the beauty of this stage of life. At 70, I've come to realize something profound. This chapter is not an ending. It's a beginning, a chance to live more authentically and unapologetically than ever before. When you're young, life feels like a race. You're chasing dreams, ticking off milestones, trying to meet everyone's expectations. But as you grow older, that restlessness fades. You stop chasing what's out there, and you start appreciating what's right here. And here's the truth. It's not about how much you do or how much you have. It's about the quality of what you cherish. The small moments, the morning light streaming through the window, the laughter of a loved one, the quiet joy of simply being present. These are the things that matter most. This chapter is about reflection. Looking back on the life you've lived, not with regret, but with gratitude. The triumphs that made you proud, the mistakes that made you stronger, the heartbreaks that taught you resilience. Every experience, no matter how small, has shaped you into the person you are today. But this chapter isn't just about looking back, it's about looking forward. There's still time to create, to learn, to grow. Maybe it's picking up a new hobby, nurturing a long-forgotten passion, or simply taking a moment to breathe deeply and savor the present. One of the most beautiful parts of this stage of life is the freedom it brings, the freedom to let go of expectations, both the ones others have placed on you and the ones you've placed on yourself. You don't have to prove anything anymore. Simply being is enough. I've also learned the power of saying no. No to obligations that drain you. No to relationships that no longer serve you. No to the pressures of trying to be everything to everyone. In doing so, you create space for what truly matters: peace, love, connection.
And here's something else. There's a kind of courage that comes with aging, a willingness to live authentically, to speak your truth, and to prioritize your well-being. At this point in life, I no longer fear being judged or misunderstood. I've earned the right to live on my terms. But perhaps the most important lesson of all is gratitude. Gratitude for the life you've lived, the people you've loved, and the memories you've made. Gratitude for the strength that's carried you through the hard times and the joy that's illuminated the good ones. And gratitude for the simple fact that you're still here, alive, with more to experience, more to give, and more to learn. So, what does embracing this chapter really mean? It means accepting the past without clinging to it. It means cherishing the present with open arms. And it means looking to the future with hope, knowing that each day is a chance to live fully and deeply. It's not always easy. There are moments of loneliness, moments of wondering what comes next, moments of missing the people and places that once filled your life. But even in those moments, there's strength, a quiet reminder that you've made it this far and that you have everything you need within you to keep going. At 70, I've learned that life isn't about the big milestones. It's about the small, meaningful moments that make up our days. This chapter, though different from the ones that came before, is just as important. In many ways, it's the most authentic, the most peaceful, and the most fulfilling part of the journey. So as we close this conversation, I want to leave you with this. Embrace this chapter. Celebrate its possibilities. Honor the life you've lived while remaining open to whatever comes next. Live fully, deeply, and unapologetically, one day at a time. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned in your life that's brought you peace or clarity? Share it in the comments. Let's support each other as we navigate this beautiful chapter together. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more conversations like this. Thank you for being part of this journey. Here's to living authentically and savoring every moment we're given. Take care, my friends.